Good morning, everyone. Welcome to the Hamilton Buddhist Temple and our Shotsuki Memorial Service for the month of November. I am Marlene Fraser, your Master of Ceremonies for this morning's service. We are pleased to have Wilson Sensei from the Toronto Buddhist Church presiding over our service today. Please join me in silent meditation. Close your eyes and relax your body, and the meditation will begin with the bell and end with the bell. Namo Amida Butts, Namo Amida Butts, Namo Amida Butts, Namanda. Please rise and join me in reciting the Shin Buddhist Life Principles on page 9. Shin Buddhist Life Principles. Entrusting in the vow of the Buddha, calling out the Buddha's name, I will pass through the journey of life with strength and joy. Revering the light of the Buddha, reflecting upon my imperfect self, I will strive to live a life of gratitude. Following the teachings of the Buddha, discerning the right path, I will share the true Dharma with all. Rejoicing in the compassion of the Buddha, respecting and aiding all sentient beings, I will work towards the welfare of society and the world. Namo Amida Butsu. Namo Amida Butsu. Namo Amida Butsu. Namanda. Please be seated. Okay. Yeah, okay, good, thank you. Okay, we will now chant the Sutra Sambujo on page 29, followed by the Sutra Zanbutsuge on page 33. During the chanting of Zanbutsuge, I'll be reading out the memorial names for the month of November. If you can come up and offer Oshoku. Thank you. Suzuki Osama, 2015. Mori Yoko, 2010. Corey George, 2009. Takeda Ichi Miki, 2002. Kanatsuko Mio, 1987. Kuwabara Shigeno, 1987. Suzuki Ko, 1983. Hashimoto Koto, 1981. Ide Tadasu, 1979. Hashimoto Naijiro, 1973. Kitamura Yosoya, 1968. Kawai Kiyozo, 1965. Funamoto Shoji, 1959. Shibata Naomi, 1957. And Nishigawa Hara, 1957. Could the balance of the congregation please come up and offer Oshoko?
Shoji Yose San Ti Yo Gose Yo Shigan Isai Isadai Can show Fuja Inyo Roja Show Susai Tai Bu Faya Mushu Setsudo Yo Shisho and Shisho Yose Shoji Iji Nan Yo Yasa Kokudo Dai Goshu Ki Yo Jojo Shosei Yo Nai Ni Muto So Ga Jo Ani Do Si Sai Ji Po Dai Sho Shi Nesu Sho Jo I To Ka O Ke Ra Ku No Go Sushi Nyo Zena Shi Sho Ho Sugan No I Sho Yo Ji Ho Se Son Chi E Mu Ke Sho Yo Shi Son Chi Ya Chi Kyo Yo Shi Shoku Toku Da Yo Sho Ji Ni Ju Fu Ken Say is I.
We will now read the English translation on page 34.
boundless. Your radiant countenance is majestic, and your
Your dignity is boundless. Radiant splendor such as yours has no equal. Even the blazing light of sun, moon, and many jewels is completely hidden and obscured, and looks like a mass of black ink sticks. The countenance of the Tathagata is unequaled in the world. The great voice of the perfectly enlightened one resounds throughout the 10 quarters. Your observance of precepts, learning, diligence, meditation, and wisdom. The magnificence of these virtues is peerless, excellent, and unsurpassed. Deeply and clearly mindful of the ocean of the Dharma of all Buddhas, you know the depth and breadth and reach the farthest end. Ignorance, greed, and anger are completely absent. You are a lion, the most courageous of all humans, having immeasurable majestic virtues. Your meritorious accomplishment is vast, and your wisdom is deep and supreme. The majestic glory of your light shakes the great thousand worlds. I vow to become a Buddha, equal to you, the most honored king of the Dharma, and to bring sentient beings from birth and death to the final attainment of emancipation. My practice of giving, self-discipline, observance of precepts, forbearance, diligence, and also meditation and wisdom shall be unsurpassed. I resolve that when I become a Buddha, I will fulfill this vow in every possible way, and to all beings who live in fear, I will give great peace. Even though there are Buddhas, as many as 1,000 million Bodhis, or countless great sages, as many as the sands of the Ganges, I will offerings to all these Buddhas. Nothing surpasses my determination to seek the way steadfastly and untiringly. Even though there are Buddha worlds as many as the sands of the Ganges, and also emerald beyond calculation, my light shall illuminate all of these lands. I will make such efforts that my divine power may be boundless. When I become a Buddha, my land shall be the most exquisite. People there shall be unrivaled and excellent, and my seat of enlightenment shall be beyond compare. My land shall be like Nirvana, being supreme and unequaled. Out of the compassion and pity, I will bring all to emancipation. Those who come from the 10 quarters shall rejoice with pure hearts. Once they reach my land, they shall dwell in peace and happiness. May you, the Buddha, be my witness and attest to the truthfulness of my resolution. I have thus made my aspiration. I will endeavor to fulfill it. The world-honored ones in the 10 quarters have unimpeded wisdom. May these honored ones always know my intentions. Even if I should be subjected to all kinds of suffering, torment, continuing my practice undeterred, I would endure it and never have any regrets. Namanda Boots, Namanda Boots, Namanda Boots, Namanda, Namanda. I would like to have Wilson Sensei provide us with his Dharma talk today.
There we go. All right. Good morning, everyone. I think this is picking me up pretty well. So it's always a privilege to be here and hold services with you, whether we're a lot or a few. I know there's a lot of germs going around and other issues just now, and we'll likely encounter more as we slide closer to winter and go through all of that. So thank you very much for being here in whatever capacity you can be, whether it's here with us at the library or watching online. We appreciate everyone's attendance. I hope everyone is doing as well as possible under the circumstances. It was sort of challenging to come up with my Dharma talk for this month. Events in the world and in my own life have frankly had me feeling somewhat down, and I've got plenty of worry and stress at home. Sort of a challenge to write a Dharma talk under those conditions. However, the Dharma, of course, is directly invented in order to help us with our difficult times. So this is precisely the time when it's good to return to the Dharma to think about things. About 20 years ago in Japan, I saw a quotation on a calendar that was put out by the Honganji. Honganji puts out a calendar every year, and people can buy it and hang it up. And there's usually a quote of some sort each month. Hold on a second. Karen is calling. I'm going to find that phone call. Although we could have put her on speaker and enjoyed that. That might have been interesting. Okay. All right. My apologies to Karen. Marlene will get back to you after the service. Okay. So where was it? Oh, yes. I was talking about the calendar. So I saw a calendar. They put one out every year. There's a new one already coming for 2025. And I was really struck by, oh, yeah, there it is. It's exactly that. Yes, very good. Okay, they're good to go. All right. So a quote that I saw on this one, this was, like I say, approximately 20 years ago. It said that the Nembutsu is the power to transcend suffering, but not to avoid it. I thought that was interesting. I was really struck by that. And I've actually been thinking about what that might mean ever since then. The Nembutsu is the power to transcend all suffering, but not to avoid it. Yeah, what does this mean? Well, the calendar didn't explain any further than that. So it's left me going over this in my mind for about 20 years now, trying to figure out, okay, what were they trying to say? When we look back in Jodo Shinshu history, we find many ordinary people who experience suffering in their lives. It's a common theme, right? And of course, this is what we should actually expect when we do such a survey, because after all, some guy you might have heard of, the Buddha, pointed out about 2,500 years ago that every life contains suffering, right? It's an unavoidable byproduct of living in this beautiful, but in many ways imperfect world that we share. And because Jodo Shinshu was founded as a Buddhism of the people, not of the elite 1% of society, it was always especially concerned with the daily sufferings of average people trying their hardest to get by. Right? This is a non-monastic form of Buddhism, founded to try to bring the Dharma to lay people in their regular lives. These are lives that always contain some amount of suffering, difficulty, obstacles, challenges, and all the things that we go through, right? People who experience hunger, oppression, poverty, family difficulties of all sorts, work problems, disappointments, failures, lost dreams, and all the other hard elements of the human condition. These are what Jodo Shinshu was designed to speak to. Often people, the regular people, have suffered due to the exploitation of those more powerful or more wealthy than them in society. And these were the people that Shinran was spreading his message among. Now, the Pure Land Buddhist tradition overall gives us basically two main responses to this sort of suffering. Many Pure Land lineages in East Asia have taught that this world of suffering, it is indeed a world of suffering. And so we should reject it and aspire to leave it behind and to be born in the Pure Land after we die. This is a common teaching, and it's one that gave hope and comfort to oppressed people in pre-modern China, Japan, and elsewhere, people who couldn't change their personal circumstances or create a better social order, who lived in a pre-modern world where the ability to change your circumstances, to rise above your assigned station, or to expect that a better, administration or whatever would come along. These were really not realistic sort of hopes. So therefore, giving people hope for a future that would be better was an important part of how Pure Land Buddhism delivered a level of hope and comfort to people in their difficult lives. Shinran, on the other hand, he added a second response to this sort of thing. And his approach was based on his deep experience of the true nature of the Nimbutsu. Shinran taught that we can experience a portion of the peace and contentment of the Pure Land, which is itself nirvana, when we receive Shinjin, the trusting heart, during this lifetime. In other words, Shinran took the hope, the comfort, the security, the happiness, the elements of the Pure Land promise, and moved them from being only an afterlife situation and moved them into our lives as we live them ourselves. Said that even here, we are in touch with the Pure Land. Amida Buddha's compassion embraces us. And as we awaken to that, we can already experience a degree of that relief from suffering, which the Pure Land promises. And I think this is what's going on behind that Honganji statement, that the Nimbutsu is the power to transcend all suffering, but not to avoid it. There's been many ways that this has been explained through metaphor. For example, Shinran said that it's like the sky being covered over by clouds, but still the light of the sun comes through and allows us to see. Or Ginza, the famous lay follower, what we call Myokonin, sort of wonderful regular practitioner. He described it as being like an ox that carries your firewood for you. He meant this quite literally. He was a laborer and he had an ox and he had to carry firewood. But then he would put the firewood, take it off his back and put it on the ox, and the ox would carry it, and then this would be much easier for him. So the clouds don't go away. The burden still exists, but contact with the Dharma changes things, makes it easier to walk your journey. As long as we have physical bodies and minds that center on ourselves, we're going to experience some degree of suffering. But the Dharma lightens the load and illuminates our path. So when we say the Nimbutsu, we receive the power to transcend our suffering. What does it mean to transcend suffering? It means we're no longer defined by our suffering. Our suffering is no longer the central focus of our attention, something that we're stuck in and which obscures all other elements of life. We can't avoid suffering. We're all subject to illness. Some of us today, in fact, at home, recuperating. To aging, that's all of us. To dying, that's some of us now and all of us in the future. And all the other sources of unhappiness. These are things we can't avoid. But saying the Nimbutsu, we're reoriented towards the sources of support, of love, and liberation in our lives. And they become our focus. There's a gata in our service book. It's on page 136, if anyone wants to follow along. It's called Namo Amida Butsu. This is an old gata. It's been in all of the previous versions of the service books published in English, going back to about the 1930s or so. We don't tend to perform it regularly here, but this is one of the first gatas that I learned at the New York Buddhist Church back in the 1990s. They used it quite regularly back then. I don't know if it's in regular rotation these days. I sometimes watch their services on Zoom, but just can't recall whether I've seen that one recently or not. So here's the gata, and don't worry, I won't sing it. I will spare you. After all, my job as a minister is to decrease suffering in the world. Those of you who have experienced my singing voice know that this is a great favor I'm doing you. So here's how it goes in recitation. The gata says, when life is fair and sunlight gilds the day, when fortune smiles and flowers adorn our way, oft let us pause with grateful hearts to say, Namo Amida Butsu. So the Nimbutsu is something that we say as we experience good fortune and feel thankful. That's very true. So that first stanza is certainly true, right? But the gata has a second verse. Here's how it goes. It says, even though our way leads neath a darkened sky, and to our loved ones, pain and death draw nigh, Our tears may flow, yet trustingly we cry, Namo Amida Butsu. This is a much sadder part of the song. It's the part that acknowledges that we and our loved ones will suffer. But it still counsels saying the Nimbutsu, just like the first verse, saying the Nimbutsu now among the hardships of life. So our tears may flow, yet trustingly we cry, Namo Amida Butsu, Namo Amida Butsu, the Nimbutsu, right? I've always loved the double meaning of that line. We cry in a trusting manner, and we cry out Namo Amida Butsu as our tears flow. The ambiguity of the line there works very well for two possible interpretations. This is an important gata, whether or not we perform it all that often, because it recognizes that life has happy and unhappy times. Yet in either circumstance, the best response is Nimbutsu. We're going to cry a lot in upcoming years. That's how life is, right? But as we cry, we can say Namo Amida Butsu and receive the strength of the Buddha. So we can say the Nimbutsu in happy times to express our gratitude, and we can say the Nimbutsu in unhappy times to express our sorrow and to reconnect with the Dharma. Saying the Nimbutsu won't take away all of our suffering, but it can transform our hearts so that we transcend our suffering and we walk in the light of the Buddha. There's one more way to say the Nimbutsu, which is going to be important in the hard times, which feel like they're coming. In his letters to Nimbutsu practitioners throughout Japan, Shinran expressed his wishes to them. He said, I'm going to quote Shinran Shoni here, while deeply entrusting themselves to the Nimbutsu and firmly embracing wishes for peace in the world in their hearts, I hope that everyone will say the Nimbutsu together. He further said in some of his other collected letters, in the final analysis, it would be splendid if not just yourself, but all people who say the Nimbutsu did so not with thoughts of themselves, but for the sake of the leaders and people of society. So this is to say, with the hope that the nation's leaders will act wisely and that the people of society will be well, and saying the Nimbutsu with these wishes in one's heart. Finally, one last quote from Shinran Shoni. He said, in yet another letter, those who feel that their own birth is settled should, mindful of the Buddha's benevolence, hold the Nimbutsu in their hearts and say it as a grateful response with the wish, may there be peace in the world and may the Dharma spread. So, as we say the Nimbutsu, let us not only focus on how benefited we are, but also turn our attention to other people of the world and wish peace and happiness for them as well. This is what Shinran is counseling those Nimbutsu practitioners who received his letters. And this is the Bodhisattva spirit. This is the spirit of Buddhism, which cares about the suffering of others and does what it can to try to alleviate it. It's this spirit which led Dhammakara Bodhisattva to make the primal vow and to become Amida Buddha. And if we can say the Nimbutsu with this spirit, then we have an attitude that can help to make the world a better place and to relieve the suffering of others. So these are various ways in which we can use the Nimbutsu to try to help us as we encounter our personal difficulties and as society at large, as the world faces many challenges and difficulties also. Let's say the Nimbutsu gratefully and happiness, recognizing the good things we have. Let's say the Nimbutsu with sorrowful trust as we experience pain, but understand that we are held in the compassion of the Buddha, connected to something larger. And let's say the Nimbutsu with a wish for peace in our hearts as well, hoping that the world will improve, that others' suffering will alleviate, and that we will be able to do our small part also to make our lives and other people's lives happier and better as well. These are all very valid, very useful ways to approach the Nimbutsu. So that's my my basic Dharma talk for today. I will note one thing though. A good Dharma talk should always have some personal touch to it. And this one doesn't really have any personal touch. I was like I said, kind of stressed and busy, and I didn't have any particular personal anecdote or example to provide. This is a more kind of theoretical. Here's some quotes from the tradition. I'm a scholar, I'm a historian. I can't help myself with that kind of archival approach sometimes. But perhaps fortuitously, I don't know, you could decide. I did have one more use of the Nembutsu, which came up today on my drive. So I have to drive in from Waterloo to Hamilton or to Burlington. And I was trying to get on the highway and somebody cut me off and then stopped with it. It was a green light, but there was one car in front of them. But instead of proceeding into the intersection so that we could turn, when cars went by, the person just stopped, and I was kind of like held captive by them, because they're in front of me and everything. And I'm thinking, oh no, if they're too slow and they don't go, then I'll end up having to sit through another cycle, a big intersection, and this will add like 5 more minutes to my drive, and I may be late and arriving, and all these sort of troubles. So I thought it'd be better if that person, instead of stopping oddly at this location, let them just go forward a little bit into, and then we'll all be able to turn and we'll make it through this light, not the next one. So I very gently give a little beep, just be like, hey, are you paying attention? Look, you can go forward. You don't have to be stopped here. Immediately, instead of going forward, they shot their middle finger up at me and shook it at me in their car. I was like, this seemed uncalled for, and I reacted in a fairly not my best Buddhist ministerial moment. So I'm like, what is this? Good, tiniest little beat of possible, just kind of like a, hey, maybe think about what we're doing here. You might be able to go sort of way. There's no reason to, do this sort of thing. So I laid on that horn, bam, beep. I just held it down. I didn't shoot him back the finger or anything else like that. That's too big. But I just held that. I was like, go already. Don't do this. I'm not the one who's wrong here. Go. So I went beep, it was just like I was shouting at the person, which made them gesticulate in all sorts of ways I won't repeat for you. They eventually went through, and I went through as well. I got on the highway. I got here early, frankly. So honestly, I could have sat through that extra 5 minutes, no big deal. But I got worked up over it because I was like, what's going on? They're giving me the finger and I'm beeping at them, which, made me angry and this sort of thing. And so now I'm driving on the highway. I'm like, well, that wasn't my most skillful interaction. So I'm beating myself up over it. I'm driving, I'm not listening to radio. I'm just listening to my own thoughts. Like, I could have done this better, but no, really, no, they were wrong. I was right. This is a tiny little beef. They should get over it. What is all this? I don't deserve this sort of thing. I don't know. I don't know how long. I got all the way down 401 from my house on that one. So then eventually though, and then I started thinking, like, I mishandled this. Like, if they shoot me the finger, I should just let it wash over me. I'm supposed to be a Buddhist minister. Why am I reacting? I shouldn't be reactive in this way. So, I'm like, oh, I failed. I suck. Oh, I'm the worst minister ever. I should turn around and go home. I'm not. So now I'm in the pity party, part of this sort of thing. Eventually, I was like, and I just started going, namanda, 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 namanda. It's just, and it just, because I've been through all the emotions and all the criticism of them and criticism of myself and everything. And then I just said the Nembutsu and just let it drop. So this was not a skillful action on my own, nor was it necessarily even a skillful use of the Nembutsu. But this is another real way that we can use this sort of thing. Really what happened was that after I beat myself up and then everything, and then I found that I was beating myself up, then I had that further thought, like, here we go, dukkha, suffering, life. This is what it is like, isn't it? Oh well, and that's when Namo Amida Butsu began to come out, right? So I chanted Namanda for some further distance, probably driving too slowly with people annoyed behind me. now that I'm caught up in that mindset, but whatever, I reset and got here okay. I did not become a victim of road rage, luckily. And I also had the thought, this is the kind of behavior I could only do because I was driving in Ontario. If I were doing this in Los Angeles, you don't beep, and you certainly don't beep at them because you're going to get shot. And that was not really my goal this morning. So then I actually felt grateful. Oh, thank goodness that I can misbehave in this way and not suffer immediate, overwhelming karmic consequences of my actions. So again, Namanda, I was thankful in this way. So therefore, because of the generosity of my fellow drivers, I was able to have an experience to bring a personal touch to the Dharma talk. So thank you to my fellow driver. So sorry for honking so rudely at you. And when we are driving or being driven and people misbehave, we're going to be who we are. But if we can say the Nimbutsu and return to a better state of non-road rage as soon as possible, it would be better for ourselves and better for everybody on the road. So one more use of the Nimbutsu. Avoid road rage, use it to express your wishes for the world to improve, use it to express your thankfulness at what you receive, and say it when you are facing trouble and when you're experiencing sorrow. And remember that others also suffer, and the Buddha holds all of us in great compassion. That's the full Dharma talk for today. Thank you very much for your patience. Let's just say the Nimbutsu together. Namo Amida Butsu. Namo Amida Butsu. Namo Amida Butsu. Namanda. Namanda. Namanda.
Thank you, Sensei. It's always a pleasure to have you here and listen to your Dharma talks. Thank you very much. We're now going to recite the golden chain on page 8. Please rise. The golden chain. I am a link in Amita's golden chain of love that stretches around the world. I will keep my link bright and strong. May I be kind and gentle to every living thing and protect all who are weaker than myself. May I think pure and beautiful thoughts, say pure and beautiful words, and do pure and beautiful deeds. May every link in Anita's golden chain of love be bright and strong, and may we all attain perfect peace. Namanda Boots, Namanda Boots, Namanda. Amanda, Amanda. Please be seated. On our program, I've got a couple of announcements. There's been it's a Momiji West events that they've been having at the Cultural Center in Hamilton. And the next one is this Thursday, November 21st. It's from 12 to 2:30. And the goal of the program is just to reach out to seniors in our community and give them an opportunity to socialize. And this week we're going to be doing cookie decorating workshop. And I've been trying to go out and support the event. Gloria's been attending them. If you're not busy, you're welcome to attend. If you want to just let me know you're coming, that would be great. And also I just indicated that Momiji is also having a holiday market. The admission is free. There's 40 vendors. They have food, crafts, and jewelry. And that's a week today. So it's next Saturday and it's from 10 to 4. And I've given you the address also. Okay. And also on the front of the program, I've indicated how you can do a donation to the Hamilton Buddhist Temple. Okay. On behalf of the Hamilton Buddhist Temple, we'd like to thank Wilson Sensei for today's service, the Toronto Buddhist Church for supporting our temple and for providing us with Wilson Sensei's services. Thank you for attending our Shotsuki service today. Thank you to all the members who helped in preparing today's refreshments. Our next service is December. It'll be our Shotsuki and Bodhi Day service. So it's Saturday, December 14th at 11 o'clock. I think Hashimoto Sensei is going to be back. If he's not, I'll let you know. So please join us for some tea after service. This brings the formal portion of our service to a close. Please join me in Namo Amida Butsu. Namo Amida Butsu. Namo Amida Butsu. Namo Amida Butsu. Namanda, Namanda, Namanda. Thank you.